to the non-Pole, the non-Polish eye,
completely
abstract situation. Even to the Polish eye, I mean, I'm not sure what's going on.
It was abstract when I saw it. I mean, I had no idea what was happening.
How did you come across this scene? I mean,
I was just on the way to Palm Sunday celebrations in the sort of middle north of Poland.
When was this?
In the 70s. In the 70s, when I was a free photographer, in the sense that I didn't work for anybody, and I was just a complete freelance, doing anything I wanted. Actually, I just drove around Poland and had some photographer friends who would drive around with me and see various interesting things. And on the way to that place where the Palm Sunday celebrations were, I suddenly saw this. And I had
had they already thrown some in? Or?
No, I think there was just these two women which are dressed in local folk dresses.
And huge dolls.
Yes, exactly. Probably made from straw, actually. And inside is all straw, as far as I'm... and I think they also actually, before they throw them into the river, they actually burn them. They set them
on fire and then
I'm not sure why.
What is the occasion?
The occasion is, it's called the Marzanna, which is, again, doesn't mean anything in
Wasn't she some sort of Slavic goddess?
Good question, actually. I never knew any Slavic goddesses, so I'm not sure. But the whole idea of this is it's a farewell to winter and welcome to spring.
Welcome, or is it
it's the end
sort of a sacrifice to bring on to hurry up?
I mean, now it's a very sexist thing to do, to throw in figures of women into the river and burn them. I think it wouldn't go down very well today, but it probably still happens. But it's just an old folk custom, which is really just a farewell winter, hello spring. You can't see it. I mean, it's still winter, really, but it's...
it's snow. You can say there's some snow on the ground. Or what is this? Is this
it's a little barge or something.
So they were on the water? And
I think it's not so much... I think it's a barge, yes, for some... God knows for what, though.
And then they would dress them up. There's something written on this one.
It seems to be, if you look closely, it could be the name of the village where it happened. But
what does it say?
You can actually read it, and you can actually look it up on the internet and see. But because I can't remember exactly where I shot it, but that could be the clue. But these are folk costumes, but it's true. I mean,
no, they're not. This is not traditional Polish costume. This is looks more Mexican than Polish.
But for that region, the Kurpia region, it's is.
You think this is how they dressed? I think these are just random clothes they found.
I don't think. Well, they wouldn't.
I mean, they obviously made it since they put the name of the village on them, and they also made up their faces. They're very, very painted.
Yes, they look as if they're screaming. No, but but I was completely. I had no idea what I was actually.
Wait, you're driving along and you see these guys with. I mean, could you tell at first that
there's probably a crowd around the barge?
So something was happening.
Something was happening, exactly.
And then what? You ask them if you can take their picture, because this guy looks pretty.
Yes, I never really ask. I'm very bad at asking, because if you ask, you lose the picture.
He's giving you a killer look there. It's like you caught him red-handed.
Yes, well, serves you right. Yes, and I must have sort of suddenly seen what the crowd was looking at, and then suddenly this started happening. They started lifting up these figures.
Did you have to ask them what they were doing, or did you have an inkling?
I think I asked afterwards, but I usually ask afterwards, not before.
Shoot first and then ask questions.
More or less, yes. That's the idea.
But it's, I mean, I remember this happening in Warsaw when I was a kid in the 80s. You would, I mean, not as elaborate as these dolls, but you would have these little effigies that you would set on fire and throw in the river at, towards the end of whenever it was, February, March, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So you saw much more than I did. I think you should have told me.
Everyone I've talked to has done this at some point, not with these big dolls, but it's something that...
Well, it's St. John's, the Names Day in July is when
the wreaths.
The wreaths, the burning wreaths.
That's different. But people remember, I mean, this is called Topienie Marzanny, the Drowning of Marzanna, and everyone my age remembers doing this at some point. I mean, I have friends who say they would they'd go on school trips down to the river to to throw these dolls into the river.
Now you tell me, sort of 50 years later, I find out I must have missed something, because I never saw anything like this anywhere else. But then I wasn't everywhere.
Were there any other scenes that you came across that intrigued you while you were driving around Poland?
Everything was intriguing, actually, because Poland was Poland under socialism was an interesting place, because everything was either absurd or abstract or just interesting. Like in this
for someone who hadn't grown up there and didn't know the custom.
For these people, this was just a normal thing to happen. So, but for me, as a young guy from London, who'd never seen dressed-up dolls being thrown into the River Thames.
They don't do that in London.
Exactly. Maybe the Poles do it.
Yeah.
And then they go into prison because they take them to court. But no, I have no idea. But I just like driving around, because everything was interesting. There's nothing absurd or nothing abstract here. Well, maybe it's abstract in the sense that I have no idea what I was shooting then.
And you said you were on your way to shoot something else?
Yes, Palm Sunday is in lots of villages around Poland. Palm Sunday is a very, very important holy day, because the villagers would build these palms, not palms like we used to have in London, where there's just these leaves, sort of small leaves of palms were twisted to make a cross, and you could go. But in Poland, the palms are completely different. They
don't have palm trees in Poland.
Well, except one in Warsaw. Yeah. No. In Poland, the palms here are there's sticks, and they're covered in flowers and ribbons and so on. Right? Dry flowers.
I think we have a picture of that somewhere.
But in the villages, they really go to town on this, because they spend months and months and months making these things. But they're not sort of 1 foot tall or 2 feet tall. They're sort of 15 feet tall, 20 feet tall. And the whole idea is to make them as big as possible, as high as possible.
And then do what with them?
Well, they just go to church on Palm Sunday and
leave them there.
And somebody is a winner. Somebody who has the
there's a
most beautiful
contest
palm,
for
the tallest.
And they get an Easter egg.
It's just the transport is difficult. I mean, you can't really put it into a car or anything. They either carry them in or on these horse-drawn wagons and so on. So that was all interesting for a young guy from London. So
you must have been asking a lot of questions of these people, or?
No. This is peculiar. I'm not
inquisitive.
I'm inquisitive only visually, and I sort
doesn't matter what the logic is.
I don't have to know, which of course is wrong. Because then I can't tell you but and then I have to write about these things.
Would you have to write a report when you were sending these pictures back to the magazines you were working for? Did you have to tell them what was going on?
I'm not sure those were.
Or just count on the fact.
I think those pictures weren't sent to any.
You never sent this anywhere?
No, a lot of in the first years of my life in Poland, if there was a feature story in it, maybe.
There could have been a feature there.
You're right. It could be a feature story.
And for some reason, you were driving across Poland to photograph this, so you must have.
But remember, there was a group of us there. I had 3 Polish photographers. So we formed a group. We call ourselves Honk, because the first letters of our surnames. There was a house. H was the Hausbrand. O was Ochnio, N was Niedenthal, and K was Kosierowski. And I had a camper bus, a primitive camper bus, but we used to try and drive around on that. And
but you weren't functioning as a collective under the name Honk.
No,
it was just what you called yourself.
Exactly, yeah. But I had to. The important thing was that each one of us, if they wanted to come, they would have to bring a 20-liter canister of petrol, because petrol was rationed, and I still had my camper on.
You had the car, and they had to bring the petrol.
But I had the car, but on the foreign number plates then. And if you had a foreign number plate, you had to pay dollars for petrol. I mean, you had to buy coupons for dollars. It's hard to believe nowadays, but those were the days where if you had a foreign registered car, you had to pay dollars to buy petrol. So you could buy as much as you wanted, but it would cost a fortune. And
you would all sleep in this car, drive around.
I think 2 of us would sometimes sleep in the car, and 2 of us sleep in the tent. There should be a picture of the Honk group.
Well, this is you in front of the car, right?
Oh, that's the camper, yes, indeed. Yeah, with little curtains. It was fun. It was one of these cars. Of course, every car used to break down wherever you, if you had any car, wherever you drove, you always had to have spare parts in the back. In the back.
Where did you get the spare parts?
Well, I had to get my spare parts from Berlin, West Berlin, of course.
Yeah.
This was a VW camper.
But where did you get the camper?
I got that camper in London, of all places,
So
from an Australian selling. There's a whole group of Australians who used to sell converted VW buses converted into campers, and you should sell them outside Bush House, outside the BBC, in the centre of London.
But the steering wheel must have been on the wrong side, then.
For me, that's perfect, because I need the steering wheel for this side, not for the London side. But yes, so there's a whole line of these buses converted into campers. They would import them from, or bring them in from Holland. That's why the steering wheel was always on the European side, not on the English side. So I went to Bush House to buy a camper.
And there were people there with these campers?
There were all these guys standing there, and so I just looked at this.
How much did you pay for that camper?
I think about £1,700.
Okay.
This is before you were born.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 76 probably. So yeah, but I say it was very primitive. But there was you could cook in it, because there was a gas sort of whatever you call them, burners. There was water.
There was a bed.
You could make up the bed. The beds were just planks. The rear seats were just planks. Which
I remember there was a little table and
a little table, of course. Yes. No, it was fun. But these things used to break down. Any car used to break down in Poland.
So you knew how to fix it?
Most trips, well, I wasn't very good at fixing anything, but you had to have some spares if possible, and you never knew if a trip you made to 200 miles or something, you never knew whether it was going to stop in the middle of the road or whatever. But
and did that happen? You were on your way to an assignment, and
well, when I went to Romania for a month to photograph various things, and I was on my own, and sure enough, it did break down.
And what did you do?
Luckily, a Romanian family stopped. But you have to remember that in Romania, the laws are very strict, that if any Romanian met or made contact with a Western foreigner, would have to go straight to the police to report that. Yeah. So it wasn't easy. I mean, these guys, I'm sure, caused a lot of trouble. But not so much they reported me, but they had to report themselves for
having had contact
with a foreigner. But they managed to. They stopped because they could see I was having a problem, and I think they towed me to a car repair shop somewhere, and I just asked them to repair it, and they repaired it. But I actually slept in the camper inside the service station, because I had nowhere to sleep. But that's the useful part of being in a camper. Of course. You could
that's what it's there for. Yeah.
So yes, every trip was. Of course, if I'd been a wonderful mechanic, I'd be happy to drive anywhere. But there was always a problem. If I went to London in my little Fiat 126 or something, it broke down. Of course, every time. It broke down in London, broke down on the way back.
But you always made it back.
Yes, towed or untowed or whatever. Wonderful days.